Welcome to Twisted Pair. This is Greybeard, and you can see I am here by myself today. Dash Red is taking some needed and some deserved time off. So what we going on today, and I hope everybody enjoys as you view this. And I'm back, and as I was saying, if you watch this at a later time, I hope that you enjoy what you see. What we have got going on today is going to be the NFG recap. Now, if you aren't familiar with what NFG is, it is a yearly boutique cigar festival that is put on by the Underground. And you've heard Red and I talk about the Underground for quite some time. And it's a fun festival. Keep an eye out on our page for uh, pictures, videos of what went on at NFG while we were there. I have to say that this was the first time that we had put together our own table, and I'm really pleased with the turnout from it. We gained a 40% increase in our YouTube subscribers, went from 98 to 139, and that's exciting. Uh, Got to see a lot of new people out there, new vendors with K by Karen Berger, uh, repeat vendors with Luciano and Warfighter and Sebastian from Cavalier, Rojas, Osak, um, Ezra Zion, new vendor with uh, I can't even think of their name right now. They do the Aquitaine out of Austin. Their name just absolutely slipped my mind. Uh, I'm tired. It's been a long day, and um, if you know kind of if you follow me and you're in the Leaf and Grain group, then you probably know a little bit about what's been going on. Romocraft. I knew it would come to me. So Romocraft is a new vendor. Lots of other vendors that I have been there, but I didn't recognize, such as 724. Oliva made it back. Vistal Cigar Accessories made it back. Our good friends, the Nubber, made it back there. So it was a great event. I'm not sure what the numbers on the number of people that showed up, but again, it was a great event. So let's just jump right into this. First of all, my pairings. So I'm going to grab a cigar out of the grab bags. So the tickets are $99, and you always get a grab bag. And so this is the grab bag. There's a number of different cigars, such as the Espinosa 601 Laranja. One of my favorite, the Luciano Maria Lucia. Here is an Oliva O, which is, fairly well recognized. The Don Kiki. by Karen Berger. Roma Craft. Oh, this is one of my favorites, so I think I'm going to smoke this one. This is the Intemperance Whiskey Rebellion. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to smoke one of the new ones. This is a Cavalier Black. But see, so this all comes part of the grab bag, which is part of what you get with your ticket for $99. So I think this is from Rojas. And so this is one of the packs that I bought. And so I am going to open this baby up and see how it goes. Boy, did he wrap this baby up good. So it's cellophane packs as well. And all of these are unbanded. I know nothing about this cigar. Couldn't tell you anything about the blend. Know nothing about the blend. So this is going to be fun to see what we got here. This is a true, well, this is a blind pairing from the cigar for me, since I do not know what is in this blend. But knowing Rojas, and darn it, knowing Rojas, and he's based out of Esteli, Nicaragua, I'm going to guess that this is I'm going to guess that this is going to be a Habano, I want to say, from the looks of this. So I'm going to go with my perfect cut. Love those notes on the cold draw. So I'm going to talk a little bit about lighting, and you guys have heard me talk about lighting a cigar before. So don't ever hot light your cigar. So a couple of things. Don't ever point your flame directly in it like that, okay? Because you're just going to send the heat of it directly up through the center and in there and start burning the oils. You've heard us say that you always want to toast the toast the rim, toast the edges. I take that a little bit further, and a good friend of mine, I'm not going to mention this person's name, but what the person said is that they don't like it when they see someone just taking the ash to white, like what you're seeing right here. See, I'm not coming straight in, coming in at an angle, and I'm toasting all of it, not just the edges. Taking a couple of draws, looking at it, see where it is. I see I've got a little bit that didn't quite make it right up here at the top, so I want to kind of hit. Try a different lighter. Hit this up here, get it a little bit better. This is a soft light, and so it's a flat flame. I've got to come in a little bit closer. There we go. I want to hit that edge there a little bit better. I don't want to do this, you know, and take it in. Now I can if I hold the flame about what you see right here, to where the flame's not touching it. But if I'm taking in where that flame is right on it, that's just going to burn oils all the way in. And I want to avoid doing that. And the reason why I want to avoid doing that is because, again, I'm just bringing sucking those oils all the way, or that flame all the way in, and I'm charring all the way deep down inside of it. And so in the end, what you want is light to start looking like this. So again, so this is the Noel Rojas. This is his NFG 2023 exclusive, and again, I don't know for sure what the blend is on this, but it's really tasting like a Habano to me, like a Habano wrapper. So I'm going to choose between one of two whiskeys, and I've gone with Broken Barrel this time. So I've got the Broken Barrel limited release cast strength coming in at 116, and then I've got the Broken Barrel Isle of Peat coming in at 110. And for this one, I think I'm going to do the 110. I'm going to do the Isle of Peat. This is a collection of American whiskey finished with an Islay Scotch barrel staves. So I may get a little bit of peat on this, depending upon how long it was finishing for. Give me just 1 second here. Get just a tiny bit of peat on the nose, which is that medicinal effect, or those medicinal type notes, kind of like a little bit of that iodine. So, sorry, I'm having to correct a couple of things on my phone link app. I got a phone call coming in that I didn't need to take, and I shouldn't have. That's delicious. Okay, yeah, pick up a little bit of peatiness, a little bit of what it was picking up from the staves of the from the Islay Scotch. Okay, so while we're going this, let me show you a few other things. Again, I don't know anything about these blends. I couldn't even tell you what this one looks like, but this is from Nomad Cigars, and this is the Mamacita. So this is a 5-pack. At the shop, it ran, or at the event, it ran for about $49. And so you're looking at about $10 a stick. I may open this up to show. Let's see. We also have Karen Berger was there, and so this has got her Connecticut, Maduro, Cameroon. This looks to be like another one I haven't seen before, and then the Don Kiki Red here. These are my personal goodies that I picked up. So Warfighter. When Warfighter first came to NFG a couple of years ago, they did what they called the crowns. Now, if you don't know who Warfighter is, they're all veterans. And so this is a play off of the crayons, from the state, what is said about the Marines. But these are great cigars, and they didn't come back with them last year. So we were all of UG and Leaf Mob and other people that make that have been to the number of different NFGs over the years really wanted them to come back with this, and so excited to see this. We have got the definition cigars. If you're not familiar with definition cigars, you need to get familiar with these guys. We've had them on our show before. You can go back and talk with them. Go back and review the show. Uh, such fantastic guys. This is a new one that they came out specifically for the show or for the event, and looking forward to getting into this one. Smells so good. Ah. Oh, Luciano. Luciano if you haven't heard me say this before, you're going to hear me say this now. He is one of my favorite blenders, and he did this one specifically for Ninja Mike Ford, who is one of the guys that is at Underground. And I've heard great things about this cigar, so I'm looking forward to trying that one. Let's see what else we got here. We have got this is events only. This is the from Cavalier for NFG 23. So you can see that it states just for NFG 23 right there on that. Looking forward to getting into this one as well. And then of course we got the Black Star line, another exclusive. And we've had all of these guys so far, every single one of them on our show and having talked with them. And so it's great talking with them. And last but not least is the OSOC. So every year Edgar Hoyle does an OSOC Artisan Series. And so I want to show you what's in this. So he gets an artist who comes up with a design, as what you see right here. And so inside this is a beautiful pack of 10 packs of cigars. And underneath this, so you can see, let's see if we can get this where you see. You can see that right there, print of the artwork. And it's on like a type of canvas. And so that artwork that you see on that canvas is here. And it's a different artist each year that does this. So this is, I believe, the 5th one of the series. And I've got either the 4th or the 5th one in the series, and I've got all but one of the boxes. So excited about that. And every year it's just a phenomenal cigar. So this event happens every March, and it's usually the first full weekend, either the first or the second full weekend in March. And so it was this past Saturday, the 11th, and the event really kind of starts out on Friday, to where we all gather around the shop. This year they had a chili cook-off for what we call non-traditional chili here in Texas, which has beans or something else in it, and what we call traditional chili, which is no beans. So there's two different categories, and we just all, sat around, smoked cigars, had some really good chili, and then came back the next morning. And now, as a vendor, got there at got there really around morning, and there was already about 3 or 4 people lined up at the gate. And come around noon, when it was time to let's start letting people in, you could see the line went down the gate, around the block, started going down the block, and really went probably a good block and a half before it started taking a corner. And so by the time everybody got in, I want to say there was probably, my guesstimate's probably about 300 people there. And then people were coming in later and later. And so all of these cigars that I just showed you are, outside of the Oliva, which he brings his sampler in, and outside of Karen Burgers, all of these cigars are exclusive for the event only. They're event only. And so generally, when these cigars are gone, they're gone. So as I stated at the start of the show, this was Leaf and Grain's first time being a vendor at the show. And we had our Glens. We sold out of our Glens. And so thank you to everybody who bought our Glens. We had some coffee mugs and we had some pairing journals, and so sold a couple of those. I had some of Spice Man spices and sold a number of those, and was able to make enough money to pay our expenses for this month, which was really encouraging and really exciting, and we really appreciate everybody for doing that. But what I'm most excited about is the growth on our YouTube channel, to where we came into the show at 98 subscribers, and I really wanted to break 100, and I knew we could just with 2 more. But my goal was to hit 120. And for our raffle, which I wish I could show you, but somebody won it, which I'm glad. Our raffle was a charcuterie basket with 7 or 8 cigars from the previous NFG events, cigars that you can't get anymore. A bottle of Rabbit Hole uh, uh, bourbon, a bottle of Rhone Valley Syrah wine. Uh, the basket was a series of sausages and cheese and crackers. And then we also had Spice Man spices, both the regular and the spicy blend. And we threw in a pairing journal as well. And so to get into the raffle, all you had to do really was to show us that you were subscribing to our YouTube channel. And so from there we went from 98 to 100 and 138. And I want to say that we're sitting at 139. Our goal is to get up to 1,000. Because we get up to 1,000, then we can really show our some potential sponsors that would help bring in some revenue to help pay for everything that we do. So excited about that. Glad to see I've got somebody who came on here. Thank you, Joe, for jumping on with me. Um, so let's talk. We've had the NFG recap. Let's kind of jump onto a couple of things that we've talked about. We've talked about in the past, but I still hear people saying particular things. Now, I want to show a couple of things here. We have talked about cigar colors. With cigar leaves, we've talked about wrappers, and we've talked a lot about some of the misnomers when talking about cigars and how we describe our cigars. So this one here by Karen. Karen Berger. This is what she calls her. This is what she calls her Connecticut. Both of these are a color of leaves. If I remember right, and Bruce or Karen, if you see this later, please correct me if I'm wrong. But if I remember right, this is a Connecticut broadleaf, and this is the Connecticut shade. Now, there is no leaf called a Connecticut. That's Connecticut is a way that we describe where the broadleaf or the shade leaf is grown. The Connecticut, what's commonly called the Connecticut shade, is a hybrid off of the Sumatra leaf, which comes originally from Indonesia, which is a hybrid off of the Criollo. This Connecticut broadleaf, the broadleaf in this one, is a hybrid off of the Criollo. The Habano, let's see if we can get it. See if we can get this focused in here. Can't really get it focused in here. But the Habano here is also the Habano. Now that actually is a leaf, and it is a hybrid off of the Criollo as well. And then you've got the Cameroon, which is its own seed. Now, you've got this cigar, that's 3, there's 4, here's 5, and here's 6, and you see they're all the same color. But yet only one of these is called a Maduro, right here. This one they actually call it Maduro, but what Maduro means is ripe. And so in the official names of these, this one would be, let's see, the Connecticut here would be the Colorado, or a Claro. Then you've got the Colorado Maduro, which each of these would be, or just straight Maduro. And then you have double Maduro, which is also sometimes called the Oscuro, which this one kind of gets a little bit closer to that. And Oscuro, I don't remember exactly what Oscuro means. Colorado, it's essentially what it means. There is no seed called a Maduro seed. But yet a lot of people will say, thank you, Jeff. So this other one here, so this is the other cigar that's in the pack. I need to pull this one out of here. Now I know that Karen and AJ did a 25th anniversary. Oh, this is one that she did specifically for the underground. Awesome, love that. So enjoy this one. And if AJ was in on this one here, that's going to be phenomenal. So again, your Maduro is a color. It describes the color of the leaf. Now, a lot of people will say that the Maduro is really strong. And people will ask and say, come in and say, oh, I don't want something strong. I want something kind of mild. And so somebody will bring them a Connecticut. As so. Now, Connecticut is not a mild cigar. Mild, strong, full body, light body, which here in just a minute. But I want to go through the colors on here. So as we stated, Maduro is a color. And where people will call the Maduro a strong cigar, there's a little bit of a misconception on that. Where and that misconception comes from the color on it, or a full body. Oh, I can't. That's too dark. That's going to be too strong for me. That's going to be too full bodied for me. Well, that's a myth that you have heard throughout the industry for a period of time that now we're trying to break down, and we're trying to debunk these myths. The way that the tobacco becomes ripe is through the fermentation. So you've heard us talk about the pilon. So just think of a pilon as a big bale that's probably about 4 foot by 4 foot by about 4 foot high. That's just bundles of leaves that are all stacked up. And as the temperature rises in the bundles, and they will rotate, and they'll either do a dry fermentation or a wet fermentation, where a wet fermentation is where they'll let the heat get up to the temperature get higher by wetting it. But what that does is it gets hotter and ages in there, that fermentation, that changes the color, and it starts reducing. The reason why they do it is to reduce the ammonia levels in the tobacco. What we call strength in a cigar really translates to the acidity of it, the ammonia levels of it, and the nicotine levels of it. And I'm going to show this here because this is exactly what I'm trying to get to. The longer a cigar ages, the longer a cigar ferments, the darker, the riper it is, the sweeter it actually is, because those ammonia levels start reducing, and it allows the sweetness of the leaf to start coming forward. And then what that sweetness is really depends, as what we've talked about into the past, of what type of seed it is, and what's the soil, what's the environment, how much magnesium and potassium has been in the soil, where, what's the other cross pollinations that you get from it. But really, honestly, the darker the leaf, the sweeter the leaf is. And so the Oscuro, and one of my favorite cigars is also by A.J. Fernandez, and it's the Ave Maria Reconquisto. And it's a Brazilian Matafina wrapper. No, I'm sorry, Brazilian Habano wrapper with a Matafina binder, but that Habano wrapper is Oscuro. So it's almost twice the darkness of that of a Maduro, but it opens up with some absolutely beautiful stone fruit, black fruit notes on it. So when we're talking about strength, we're talking about acidity, and we're talking about nicotine and ammonia. So younger tobacco is going to have higher ammonia levels, and then the acidity and nicotine levels will start coming down as the tobacco ages, or the cigar ages. Just like with your red wines, your red full-bodied wines are really high in tannins. And that's why we will, you'll often hear us say, oh, that Cab Sav, or that Bordeaux, or that Cab Franc, or the Tempranillo Syrah, let it lay down for a while. And your better wines actually are meant to age for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And those tannin levels start reducing and allowing those fruity notes to come even more forward. Same thing with your cigars. So when we say a cigar is really strong, we're not talking about what a lot of people try to think to translate it to, is the peppery notes on it. Now, what is the body? I'm talking so much that my cigar keeps going out. The body is the amount of smoke. And with the amount of smoke, how heavy that smoke feels. What's the viscosity? What's the density of that smoke as it's in your palate? So a more full body cigar is actually going to have more smoke and a heavier and a denser smoke. Now, can that translate to spicier? Absolutely, it can. If the tobacco that's in it is tobacco that is comes from a region or a type of tobacco or the type of leaf, the priming on it that lends to your stronger, your spice, your more peppery type notes from it. But if your tobacco is, say, comes from Ecuador or the Dominican Republic or Cuba, to where it tends to be more of your earthy, your grassy, your grainy, or your fruity type notes on it, a full body is going to mean that the intensity of those flavors are going to be more prominent in it. Why? Well, we get our flavors. We sense our flavors from the smoke because we're not chewing on the tobacco. It's the smoke that comes into our palate, into our in, and that we start being able to identify particular types of notes on it. And a fuller bodied cigar is going to have more notes for that, or it's going to be able to present that because the smoke is heavier, it's denser as opposed to a lighter body cigar. So how do we describe a cigar? I mean, really, how should we describe a cigar? Really, what we should do to describe a cigar really comes down to the boldness or the intensity of the flavors. How's the intensity of those flavors? Is that intensity really bold, or are those flavors is the intensity lighter or more subdued? And that's really a great way to describe the cigars is based upon the intensity level, the body understanding that we're talking about the smoke, and then also the strength in really in the age of the cigar. So when you go on to websites where it's talking about a cigar and it's describing that cigar, and you see like a scale go from black to or maybe a yellow up to a red, orange, and then a red. That's not always indicative of what that cigar is. And you'll see it'll be light bodied all the way up to full body. And I'm sorry, it's not something that I always trust. Here's a case in point. We were talking about Black Star Line. So one of my favorite cigars by Black Star Line, Eric Dubb they were out of Chicago. They've got a cigar. It's called the War Witch. You've heard us talk about it on the show before. This War Witch cigar is a Connecticut wrapper. I mean, that Connecticut is more along this color here of my number that I've got, as opposed to this Connecticut. I mean, it's lighter colored than the here by Karen Berger. However, that cigar is bold, spicy, peppery, in your face notes. No, why is that? I mean, it's a Connecticut. By all means, I mean, from what I described earlier, to where you go into a cigar shop and you say, I want something light bodied, a little bit milder, and they go and hand you a Connecticut. They could come back and hand you that particular cigar, that particular Connecticut, and if your palate's not that's not your palate, that's not what you are accustomed to or what you enjoy, it can knock you off your feet. It's a strong cigar. Black Label Trading Company, Black Label, they do the porcelain, which you've heard my co-host Red talk about, and I've talked about, and we both have smoked it on here before. That one's a Connecticut as well, and it's a very bold, intense, spicy, peppery type notes. So I was talking just a minute ago about Whether or not that's really comes down, the spice and peppery notes aren't going to be in every single cigar. It depends a lot on uh, primarily the priming. So when we say the priming, we're talking about what leaf that's on there. And so every tobacco plant is going to have at least these three primings. It's going to have the Seco, which the Seco is the bottom leaves, or second to the bottom leaves. There's some plants will actually have one that's called the Velardo, which will be underneath that. But you can pretty much say the Seco, and that's a much thinner leaf, and it's really good for combustion. I mean, it's going to have a lot of earthy notes to it because it's right there in the earth, and the nutrients are going to go up, travel up through the stalk, up to the top. And so it's going to pick up a lot of the earthly nutrients because it's right there with the dirt. Then you got the Visos, and the Visos are in the middle, and Visos are full of flavor. Got a lot of great flavors in the Visos. Good combustion rate, not as good as combustion as the Secos, but still good combustion. You can see some Visos that will be used as the binder, but they're primarily used. I mean, binders and wrappers, but they're also going to be used in the fillers. Secos are going to be almost primarily fillers because of their combustion. And so you'll see both of those. And then you've got the top leaves, which are going to be really thick and beautifully, and getting most of the sun and getting a lot of the nutrients from the rain and from the nutrients traveling up the stalk, and those are the ligeros. Now, because of all of the sun nutrients from the sun that it's getting, they have a tendency to be a bit spicier and a bit peppier. And so, depending upon the blend and whether or not the blender is bringing in ligeros or primarily working with the Visos and the Secos in the full blend, is going to indicate, how spicy or peppery that the cigar is. Think of the LFD, the Double Digger. It's a double ligero, and it's a thick cigar. It's a pretty good sized ring gauge, but it's also very peppery, very bold in those flavors. And it's because how many ligero leaves are actually in the blend. Now, add to that the region. Now Nicaragua is known for the most peppery cigars, and that is because the majority of the farmings of it, the plantations, the tobacco farms in Nicaragua are going to be in the Condego area, which you've got Honduras and Jalapa, which is a valley in Nicaragua, sitting right up here. And then a little bit further south, you've got Esteli and Condego, which you can literally walk from what I've told in there myself. Walk from Esteli and over into Condego, and that's all volcanic region. And then you've got on the island in a lake there in Nicaragua called Ometempe, and that island actually is volcanic. And there's a lot of tobacco farms there as well. So those are your main four regions for Nicaragua. So now through those four regions, majority of the tobacco farms, a big part of the tobacco plants that's coming out of Nicaragua being Esteli and Condego, that tends to lead to a bit stronger, earthy, bold, intense, and volcanic and pepper notes, just from all of the nutrients that come from that region, in that volcanic region. Now you move up into Jalapa, where it's actually in the rainforest up in the mountains, but it's down in a valley surrounded by the mountains that's actually lower elevation sea level than what Esteli and Condega and even Owentempe is. However, from all of the rains in there and from the other regions passing this nutrients on, we've got a lot of magnesium that's in the soil and a lot of potassium that's in the soil there. And that tends to lean towards a bit more chocolatey, creamy type notes in there. Now, when we move over to say Ecuador, Ecuador's number one export is bananas. And so that's why with Ecuador, a lot of tropical fruit notes. Even in the Sumatra, which is Sumatra is known to be a very earthy type tobacco. And the Habano tobacco from Nicaragua up in Esteli, I mean, I'm sorry, up in Jalapa, is going to be much creamier type notes as opposed to over in Ecuador, which is going to be a bit more fruity notes. And then you take that over into Honduras, and it's going to be similar to Jalapa, but you take it to the Dominican Republic and to the origination, and you're going to get much more grassy, uh, rich, earthy soil, hay, like fresh cut hay type notes. And it all has to do with the region of the terroir of where each of these are where each of these seeds are grown. Even though that's the same seed in each of those different regions, different ways that it's grown, you get different types of notes, different types of flavors. So I hope that this has been helpful for everybody. Those that were able to jump on, I appreciate you jumping on. I appreciate the comments, and I appreciate you supporting us. You come back and view this later. I hope that you know, are able to take a little bit more, a little bit more of an understanding about the cigars and what comes out or what the process is, and a little bit of the process and that makes them. I know we didn't get deep into those process on it, but a little bit better understanding that when you go into a lounge, you go into a cigar shop, humidor to get a cigar, that you're able to have a better understanding of what you're getting, to better be able to choose something that meets what you enjoy smoking. So with that, I'm gonna call it a night. Uh, like I said, I appreciate everybody who was able to join in and see what I had to say. A little bit of a recap from NFG 2023. We did call it the year of the cowboy this year because we wanted to pay honor to him because Underground Cigar Lounge would not be around if it wasn't for him. And so he, that's where let me that's where this image right here comes from. So you see the cowboy hat, piranha, and anybody who's part of UG, you know what is meant by the piranha. This pays homage to him and saying thank you for what he's done for, because Underground would not be there. If you're familiar with Underground, uh, go go to Facebook and search for Underground Cigar Shop and see what it's all about. If you haven't tried a boutique cigar like what I'm smoking right now, then step outside your box. Understand what it is about the cigars that you do like, the cigars you do like, what it is about them that you like, learn a little bit more about the blends. You don't have to go all nerdy on it like I do. Um, but learn a little bit more about what it is in that cigar that draws you to it, and find another cigar that has a similar, maybe a similar type blend. Maybe you found that you really like um, the San Andres wrapper, the Mexican San Andres wrapper, and you smoke a lot of the Rocky Patel's San Andres, or you like the sun grown. Okay, that what is it about that sun grown that you like? What kind of notes is it? What kind of flavors are you get on it? Find another sun grown. Find another San Andres wrapper from the same from the same region, and you can look on the binders and the fillers, and it'll say Nicaraguan or Honduran or Dominican binder and fillers. What is it about it? And find another cigar that has similar to that. Smoke it and see if you like it. See if you enjoy it. I bet you'll add more to your regular go-tos. So until next time, next week, we do have a guest on with us next week. Red will be back next week, and appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next week. So until next time, explore the pairings, because there's something for everyone. Good night.